So today we're going to show you around Zagreb, Croatia. Come along.
Hey world travelers, welcome to our channel. This is David and
Kendra,
Lucas of Lucas World Travel.
Now after spending a jam-packed 2 weeks in Slovenia, we took a train down to Zagreb, the capital and largest city in Croatia.
And we spent a full 7 days in Zagreb to relax, get a taste of the local food, and see how it was living the local life.
Now, although Zagreb is Croatia's capital, it's one of the least visited destinations for tourists. But we found Zagreb to be the perfect place to learn about the history of Croatia and to learn about the culture as well. Zagreb feels like the real, honest Croatia. So in this video, we'll cover 15 things to do and to taste while you're in the capital of Zagreb. And be sure to stay to the end to see our accommodation and how much it costs. All in this episode of Lucas World Travel. Our first stop is Jelacic Square. So this square is central in Zagreb, and it's the most popular place to meet up with your friends and family. On the weekends, it also has a market, so let's check it out. This square is also a meeting point for a free tour that we highly recommend. This tip-based tour is a great way to get oriented to the city while learning the deeper meaning behind the monuments you see. Our guide really made the history of Zagreb come to life, so check out our full blog article for more info on this tour. The link is in the description box below. Next stop is Zagreb Cathedral, which is part of a lovely square of monuments in Zagreb. Unfortunately, many of these buildings were severely damaged in the earthquake of 2020. During the quake, the tower on the right fell on the building next door, causing a lot of damage. That's why the cathedral, as well as many other buildings in Zagreb, are currently under construction. We even saw one building that was left untouched since the earthquake. It was chilling to see the damage. Next, check out Dolac's Farmers Market. Dolac's is the largest grain market in the city and happens every day until about 2 p.m. This place is always buzzing with locals and tourists alike buying fresh produce, and you can even find a few souvenirs here as well. For lunch, we recommend trying a traditional Croatian Strukli. At La Struk, they have both a boiled Strukli and a baked one.
It's doughy, it's cheesy, it tastes light and feathery like a cottage cheese, but not very bitter, not very sweet, just kind of plain.
I don't know what this crust is. Let's see what it's like. So it's like a cheesy, salty pastry. I like it a lot more than the Strukli we had in Ljubljana, actually. It has a much nicer flavor.
Is it something you would order often?
No, I probably wouldn't order this on the regular. This is just an experience, trying something new. It's definitely an experience worth having, though.
So you recommend that they try it, or you recommend that they add it to their food list?
I recommend that you try it, but you don't have to add it to your weekly diet. So this one is truffles. So it's really like a lasagna.
Now this is Strukli also, but this was called graniated or something.
Graniated.
What does that mean?
Maybe like a casserole.
Okay, gotcha.
It's still very hot. It does have a rich truffle taste, so I think I like this one better.
Yeah? Is it because of the truffles? Yeah, I love truffles.
The truffles add a lot.
It's truffle season, people. I like this one much better. I like the texture better. It's not as doughy. It's cheesy. Similar to this one, but cheesier. It's like a lasagna, and I'm a fan of lasagna.
So we're calling this the lasagna of Croatia. So for dessert, we got a blueberry Strukli. So it really is sweet and warm, like a blueberry pastry. It's a nice dessert, a nice way to end your meal here. So we can highly recommend Lotrcsak if you'd like to try a Croatian Strukli. After lunch, stop by the stone gate. This gate used to be part of the old city walls, but the real reason why it's so special now is because when the whole city burned down in the 1700s, this Mother of God icon was undamaged, so it's believed to have special powers to grant prayers. And with all of these stone tablets giving thanks to the icon, it's probably best you light a candle and say a prayer while you're there to see if the icon favors you as well. No trip to Zagreb is complete without a visit to the iconic St. Mark's Church. St. Mark's Church is the emblem of Zagreb. It's best known for its roof, which has two different coat of arms on it. The one on the right here is the emblem of Zagreb, and then the one on the left is a mix of three different coat of arms. The checkerboard represents Croatia, the three lions represents Dalmatia, and the black kuna represents Slovenia, which are all regions in Croatia. So the roof is just giving homage to this land and all of its different parts. Now, Zagreb has a war bunker that they used both in World War II and in the war in 1991. Could you imagine having to come down here and wait for the air raids to be over? And 1991 wasn't very long ago. That was within our generation. We would have been alive. I can't imagine having to spend a part of my childhood coming down here. When we took the war tour, it was a very sobering experience to hear about our tour guide stories down here. So these tunnel entrances are quite indistinct. You can hardly notice them. And that was by design, so the enemy couldn't get in to hurt the people. But it is worth stopping by. Nowadays, it's only used for tourism and an easy way to cross through the city, but to know its history, and you can kind of feel the anxious energy inside the tunnel as well. Another classic to try is Cevapcici, a delicious sausage dish that is common all throughout the Balkans. Mine even came with Ivar, which is a sweet red pepper sauce, another common Balkan dish. This one's super tasty. Highly recommend. My beer here was excellent as well. I actually like this one. It's kind of fruity. Why it has a bit of a red color, I suppose. So here you can also take the funicular ride to the top of the hill to see the great views. It only takes about 30 seconds to climb in the funicular, but by the time you pay for your ticket, wait for the thing to fill up, it might be faster to take the stairs. But if you're lazy, it's only 10 kuna and can be a fun experience. At the top, you will see the Lovelock Bridge and a great view of Zagreb Cathedral. For an even higher vantage point though, we recommend climbing the Lotrcsak Tower. For 20 kuna, you get to see a small photography exhibit of Zagreb and the infamous cannon. So before the earthquake in December 2020, they used to fire this cannon every day at noon. It used to scare people to death, so they decided people were scared enough from the pandemic and the earthquake that they didn't need an extra cannonball to scare them. They don't know when they're gonna restart this tradition, but it's silent at noontime these days. And the top of the tower has the most spectacular views.
The city is so much bigger than I thought. You can see it really well from up here.
Next, get ready to have your heartstrings pulled at the Museum of Broken Relationships. The objects in and of themselves are not very impressive, but they become powerful once you read the sentimental value they had for the owner. For the exhibit donors, this museum is a therapeutic way to let go of the hurt from these breakup artifacts, and an intriguing way for nosy people like us to read some fascinating love stories. If you like graffiti, then make sure you check out Zagreb's Art Park. This city park has several colorful murals of graffiti, and many of the pieces are quite impressive. Besides, a walk in the park is never a bad idea. So this is Zagreb Park, and it's common to go ahead and make a full horseshoe around this rectangular park. Our last stop was the Nikola Tesla Technical Museum, and David and I really disagreed about this one.
I really enjoyed it. I'm a Tesla fan, and I love machinery and I love architecture. So it was great to really see from his perspective the development of the different inventions, from the fire engines to the pumps and the motors and everything to develop into airplanes and automobiles and trains and all this different technology. So I really loved it.
Now I gotta be honest, for me, this museum wasn't my cup of tea. All the engines are there without any clear explanation of what it really does, why it's important, how it relates to anything else in the world. One thing I like about museums like the Museum of Broken Relationships is it tells very good stories about the items that are on there, so you actually understand and feel something when you look at these objects. But when you look at the objects in this museum, you don't feel or understand anything unless you have a particular interest in mechanical things and engineering. This museum may not be your cup of tea, and they only had one small room related to Nikola Tesla. The whole museum is not about him. I could tell David was really enjoying himself in this museum because he's really into these engines and things. But for me, someone who's not interested in those, I could have skipped this one. So depending on your taste, this museum might really excite you. So we wanted to include it on the list. And a bonus suggestion is to take a day trip to Plitvice Lakes. This national park is a must-see, and we'll be coming out with a full video about it next week. So be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when we post it. Now for accommodation, we found this compact studio on booking.com. We loved all the modern touches in this place, and for only $46 a night, it was so affordable. But what we did learn by staying in such a small accommodation for 7 days is that we really do feel more comfortable in places that have a sofa. It helps us relax and unwind and really be able to recuperate from all the travel. And because we're going to be traveling full-time for years, it's important to realize that travel is a marathon. It's not a sprint, and you have to take care of yourself. Make sure you're in an environment where you feel comfortable, where you can rest, where you can recuperate, or you aren't going to be able to make it. But this is part of the reason why we travel. We're learning that as we discover the world, we discover ourselves. And I can't wait to see what more we're going to discover as we travel. Our Croatia series continues next week, so be sure to subscribe for even more beautiful Croatian destinations. And if you're curious about adding Slovenia to your travel itinerary, check check out our Slovenia travel guide playlist on the top there.